Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is specific for Etsy sellers. So if you don't sell on Etsy, you might not be interested in this, but if you do sell on Etsy, anything on Etsy, this is something that you are going to want to pay attention to. So I woke up this morning, message from a friend who said, oh my gosh, have you heard about everything going over on Etsy with the payout delay due to that bank failure? And I'm like, what? Hadn't heard it. I'm just now getting to my computer so we can talk about it. So if you heard yesterday, there was a bank failure here in the USA, and it is affecting small businesses and some large businesses, including Etsy, because payments are now currently on hold, delayed. Let's just dive into the first article that popped up for me, the latest article. Now I'm going to read from NBC News. I'm just going to read it because some of you are doing other things and you can just listen. Etsy is warning sellers that the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank on Friday is causing delays in payment processing, according to an email from the company shared with NBC News. The online do-it-yourself goods megashop said it used SVB to facilitate disbursement to some sellers, and that it was working with other payment partners to issue deposits. We wanted to let you know that there is a delay with your deposit that was scheduled for today, the email from Etsy said. Now, I did not get this email because I do not do daily deposits. I do weekly. So if you're on the daily deposit system, this may be something that you got. The article continues from Etsy. We know that you count on us to help run your businesses, and we understand how important it is for you to receive your funds when you need them. Please know that our teams are working hard to resolve this issue and send you your funds as quickly as possible. But Etsy did not immediately respond to a request for comment. It is 12:47 here right now in Iowa, and this article was posted an hour ago. So there's our timestamp. Etsy claims 7.5 million sellers worldwide. Regulators placed SVB into receivership around noon on Friday to end a bank run on the tech lender that had begun Wednesday after it said it was seeking to raise more than $2 billion. One affected Etsy seller told NBC News the deposit's delay would have a catastrophic effect on his business. Owen McKinney, who runs Kentucky Country Home laser engraving business, said in an email that he relies on the deposits for pay for items like shipping costs and materials. He said he had already reached out to one of his suppliers to delay an order for materials that he needed for next week. At this time, Etsy has not provided a time frame for funds to be deposited. While I do have a website, Etsy remains a huge part of my business. The drama with SVB started earlier this week when the bank disclosed that it sold about $21 billion of securities and proposed to offer over $1 billion in shares, all to fundraise for general corporate purposes. The move raised eyebrows among investors who pondered why SVB would need to raise so much money abruptly. It also worried depositors, many of whom suddenly wondered whether money was safe and began pulling funds out. On Friday, the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation said that it was taking over and closing SVB to protect deposits, naming the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as its receiver. The FDIC has formed a separate entity where all insured SVP deposits up to $250,000 per depositor will be available by Monday. The shutdown came after a turbulent morning for SVB, during which trading of its shares was halted after they fell by double digits before markets opened. That downslide came on the heels of more than a 60% decline on Thursday. The closure marks the biggest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis and the second largest in U.S. history after Washington Mutual collapsed during that industry-wide meltdown. And now someone's calling me. One moment. My apologies. Yes, I have a landline. So now I'm going to read from another article. This is on thedailymail.com, and I will link both these articles I'm referencing below if you want to look at them. This one is titled, Mompreneurs on Etsy Say They Can't Pay the Mortgage or Feed Their Kids After Their Payments Failed to Arrive Because Firm Used Shuttered Silicon Valley Bank to Process Sales. Etsy sellers say they cannot pay their bills after the online marketplace froze some transactions following the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Moms who bank on earnings from the online marketplace are panicked about how they will feed their family and pay their mortgage. So let's read this article. Etsy sellers fear they will be unable to pay their bills after the online marketplace was forced to freeze transactions following the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. SVB became the largest bank to fail since the 2008 financial collapse on Friday, leaving investors scrambling to recuperate their funds. But the collapse has not just affected wealthy tech entrepreneurs, with the wave of small business owners also caught in the crossfire. Scores of entrepreneurs were stunned to discover they would not be getting paid yesterday, Friday, after marketplace Etsy announced that it was unable to process some sales payments because it uses Silicon Valley Bank to distribute funds. Furious sellers took to social media to complain, with one panicked mother of three saying she needs those funds to feed my family and pay my bills. Another revealed she would be unable to pay her mortgage next week if the issue wasn't resolved quickly. And apparently there's a lot of chatter on TikTok. I haven't been on TikTok yet today, but that's, I think, where it's blowing up. I've been an Etsy shop owner since 2015. I do very well on Etsy, the women said on TikTok. I noticed today my money that was supposed to be deposited, again, this would have been Friday, to be available tomorrow was never sent to my checking account. Then I get an email saying because of the Silicon Valley Bank, they cannot issue my deposit. My money that I worked hard for, they can't send to my bank account. The money I was expecting to have in my bank account tomorrow, they can't send to me. Why is that my problem? She added, I have my mortgage in a few days and I can't pay that because they have my money on hold. Entrepreneur Amber, who runs personalized gift company Little Miss Lovely Creations, said she was, quote, freaking out over the news. I'm a mom of three. I run a small business. I do this from my home, she said in a TikTok video. Those funds feed my family and pay my bills. She said she hoped customers would use her own online shop instead, adding fingers crossed that we get our funds on Monday. So a lot of the larger sellers will now have a Shopify store, or maybe they sell on other sites. So it's not just Etsy, but Etsy is usually the biggest site for most of these people because they just has the most traffic. Deposits up to $250,000 are protected by federal law, but anyone with larger sums tied up now faces losing their money. So I'm pretty sure we can say with confidence the vast majority of people who have Etsy shops, who rely on those daily deposits, probably didn't have more than $250,000 coming in a daily deposit. And that's kind of where the money was held. They got their money the day before, but right now it's kind of tied up. So it definitely is going to affect a lot of larger businesses, but work at home, stay at home, you have your home office and you're running your whatever business. I don't think that's going to affect too many people, unless you were counting on a $250,000 deposit on Monday. You should get that soon, but more than that, it's not protected. Let's continue reading. Dozens of customers were yesterday filmed lining up outside a branch to withdraw whatever cash they had to get ahead of the fallout. And it's important to note here that this bank in particular really focused on small businesses more so than individual people. Of course, there were individual people, but it's mainly something that smaller businesses rely on, or bigger businesses like Etsy. Meanwhile, police were called to the bank's headquarters after a group of disgruntled tech founders turned up on the doorstep. On Friday, Etsy was forced to email its sellers, again, the sellers affected by the payout. I didn't get the email. I'm on weekly deposits. So if you were supposed to get a deposit on Friday, email the sellers to inform them that their payments were being frozen because the firm relied on the bank for some of its accounts. So some accounts on the daily deposit, not everybody. We wanted to let you know there's a delay with your deposit that was scheduled for today and emailed to sellers read. I didn't get the message. This delay was caused by the recent developments regarding Silicon Valley Bank, who use Etsy to facilitate disbursements to some sellers. We're working with our other payment partners to issue your deposit as soon as possible. Etsy's stock shares were sitting at $105.98 yesterday, having tumbled by 12.52% in the last week, and it's not known how many sellers are affected. Ohio native Amanda Nelson, 45, who runs her soap store Flower and Earth mostly through Etsy, says she was particularly frustrated that the email came through on a Friday night. It's the worst time to get that kind of email because you can't do anything for 2 days. You feel helpless. I'm now getting orders and I don't know when they're going to be paid. and she says she runs the business with her husband. They can survive for the short term without the funds, but she's worried they'll have to shut their shop down. Pretty much all my sales through Etsy. I have another site, but I've been thinking of deleting it because pretty much everything comes through Etsy. If this doesn't get resolved soon, I will have to shut down my Etsy account because I just can't afford to take the risk of processing orders without knowing when I'll be paid. So let's talk about this and what you can do if this is affecting you. Number one, can you afford to skate by? I have a very small Etsy sticker shop. I get weekly deposits. So financially, I'm good. If my money's tied up for a while, that's fine. I don't make the $250,000. So it'll come through. It's fine. I don't need the money to pay. But for people who have made Etsy their full-time income and they need those daily deposits to buy supplies, pay for shipping, if you're running a print-on-demand business and you have to pay Printify or Printful, a lot of the big shops like those rely on those daily deposits to then go and pay the Printful, Printify balances so they can keep their stores running. If you're in that situation, what can you do? If you are really in distress and you don't have the credit to, buffer yourself here for a few days, obviously you can put your Etsy shop on vacation. You don't have to close it down. You can put it on vacation and then no one can buy your things. Your shop will still be there on your side, on the back side. Everything's like it is, but customers can't buy anything. So there's that. The other one is to just, of course, wait it out and realize that this will get resolved. It's only affecting some sellers. And if you're less than $250,000, it's going to be protected by the FDIC. So you will get your money here in the next, I'm assuming, few days. I'm pretty confident it's going to work out. But if you are literally day to day on Etsy and you need those daily deposits, then you probably need to consider putting your shop on vacation if you can't pay your bills that you need to keep your business going. And this just brings up a larger conversation of you really need to create these buffers in your business so that you aren't on a day-to-day schedule. If something happens like this, or you get sick, or for some reason your credit card gets a fraud warning and gets declined and suddenly you can't pay your things, you need to be prepared for that. So what can you do? Obviously, have money in the bank. If you don't already have savings, we got to get those emergency savings accounts going. We all need them. I know it's hard to do, but you got to think ahead, plan ahead. Most experts say you want 3 months of living expenses in the bank. Again, I know that's hard, but start building up that emergency fund. If you have a full-scale business, I'm assuming you are utilizing credit cards through, to charge your Printify or Printful fees if you're doing print on demand. If you're buying supplies and things, you probably are utilizing a credit card. How deep are you into that? Obviously, we don't want to rack up credit card debt, but can you afford to go a few days if you get some credit card charges going, and then when the money is released, you can pay them off? Will this take an incredibly long time to sort out? I mean, I don't know, but those deposits are secured by the FDIC. Again, up to $250,000. So most people should be okay here within the next week. I'm assuming that's what the FDIC is saying. So it is kind of a bummer if you have to close your store for a little bit, put it on vacation, and lose your momentum. But if you're feeling like crap, I cannot go past Monday without getting my deposit, then that's probably what you're going to have to do and reopen it when you start up. It sucks. I'm keeping mine open because, again, I don't do daily deposits and I'm confident it'll be fine. It'll work out. It's not much money for me. But I know for those of you who are full-time, it is your full-time. It's a panic mode when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get my money. You will get your money. It's insured by the FDIC. You will get it. When? But in the meantime, you can make that decision if you need to put your shop on vacation. I know people who they're putting their shop on vacation mode, so they're not selling anything else, so they're not racking up more fees. So if that ends up being the case here for a few days, it is what it is. If people are saying that all the money they make on a daily basis is all the money they have for bills and food and mortgages and stuff. I hope it gets resolved soon, but this is the time to really then sit down and think, what do I need to do financially to build up that emergency fund? And I'm in the same boat because my emergency fund got decimated over the summer when I got water in my basement. So I understand about losing your emergency fund, and I'm in the process of building it back up. But it's so important when you work for yourself, especially, that you build that emergency fund so things like this aren't going to derail you, that you can make it a few days without getting those daily payments, which is kind of one of the things that's a little tricky about getting those daily payments from Etsy. You really start to rely on that. It's why I like the weekly payment. Now, I understand if you're running a print-on-demand business specifically, where you have to pay, for the costs on Printify, Printful, and other sites, or if you're a handcrafted designer with expensive supplies to buy. But let me know, did you get this email from Etsy? Is it affecting you? What are you doing? Are you panicked? Is your shop on vacation? Let me know in the comments below. Again, this is a ongoing story, so keep your eye on the news. But I would say don't get into the hysteria that's going on. Obviously, when you hear my money's on hold, it's panic. I get it. But I'm confident this is going to resolve. Hopefully you are not in so much of a financial peril that 1 or 2 days of a delay of getting money is going to completely destroy you. Again, if it is, that's a different, we need to start putting some money into that emergency fund. But anyway, leave your thoughts and comments below. If you like this Etsy update video, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video. And if I hear any more about this or we have anything definite, I'll come back and make an update. So thanks for watching. Bye.